NBA is witnessing one of the most legendary talent storms ever. As the old heads push closer to their decline, the younger generations have been stepping up big. From superstars like Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, and Donovan Mitchell racking up impossible stat lines every night out, the depth of NBA talent is absolutely ridiculous. This is evidence of how insanely competitive the league is right now. Among the long line of exciting young talents, two players have cemented their names in the conversation of the next phase of the NBA. Talk about raw talent, basketball IQ, and all the intangibles of a true maestro of the beautiful game. These players have it in abundance. One is a 6'6", 195-pound Canadian point guard raining thunder down in Oklahoma. The other player is an athletic 6'4", 225-pound shooting guard out at Atlanta, Georgia, born of wolf skin and capable of pulling off unimaginable things on both ends of the court. However, the competitive rivalry between the talented guards is beyond just competing and winning every game. It is much more personal than you expect. It all started after a tough defeat to the Thunders early in the year. Anthony Edwards, who had 19 points in contrast to Shai's 33 points and 12 points from the free throw line, had some corny comments on how the referee made foul calls in favor of SGA.
It's hard to, man, with the calls that Shai gets. It's hard. It's hard to shut him down. You can't touch him at any time of the game, so it's super hard to beat. That team is a good team, especially when you get calls like that. So it's hard.
Shai's response was rather cold, dropping his diss on his Instagram page with the caption, "They talk about me for my post-game, not my post-game." However, their rivalry took a huge twist during Stephen A. Smith's interview with a 22-year-old guard, but before we go deep into the beef, let's look at how good these players are and their comparison. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's evolution into one of the premier scorers in the league has been a joy to watch. Since the swap for Paul George in his rookie season, questions have always hanged about whether Shai could lead the Thunder in their rebuild. Don't get me wrong, Shai was decent, averaging 10 points and 3 assists on an efficient 47% shooting. However, Shai's game needed more time in the gym to take his game to a whole new level, but the Clippers didn't have that much time in hand. His move to OKC couldn't have been timed any better, as the Thunders were in the midst of a rebuild after disbanding their infamous Big Two in Westbrook and Paul George. Despite securing the 6th seed in the West, the Thunder crashed out to the Houston Rockets in the first round of the playoffs and started the decline of the Thunder's franchise. Fortunately for OKC, sticking with Shai and their long-list draft picks has saved their franchise to this day. With the addition of talented draft picks like the lengthy Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey, and Jalen Williams to their roster, OKC is now a whole different team than we knew a few years ago. The Thunders have completely turned their fortunes around in a blitz. With their 45-19 and 70% winning rate, the Thunders are in the top spot in the West and have the second best record in the league behind the Boston Celtics. That one frail Canadian kid is now tearing up the stats sheets with unimaginable performances that make him a strong contender for the season's Most Valuable Player award. His 31 points per game ranks 3rd in the league, along with 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals per game on an insane 54.6% shooting. With 40-plus games of 30-plus points and 64% true shooting, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has hacked the NBA, and teams can't find a way to stop him. The 25-year-old has developed into one of the elite isolation scorers in the league, using his quick burst of pace to blow past defenders and find his way into a mid-range pull-up jumper or finish strong at the rim. Shai currently leads the league in points per isolation plays so far this season. He also averages an outstanding 55% scoring efficiency when he is in ISO mod. So far this season, Shai is shooting an efficient 51% between 5 to 19 feet away from the basket and 67% on his field goals attempted at the rim. As Paul George describes Shai, he's deceptively quick, rocks you to sleep, and then blows by you. Everything is just pace, fast, slow, slow, fast. His in-between legs move into a speed burst is one of his best signature moves to get past defenders in a flash. And when the defense denies him from getting to his spot, Shai can also step back and knock it down from behind the arc. Despite the 3-ball not being an essential part of his game, he is still currently shooting a career-best 39% from threes on 3 attempts per game. This season, he has taken a massive leap in carrying and leading this young OKC team back into playoff contention. 2 spots down in the West Conference are Anthony Edwards and the resurgent Timberwolves team. Coming into the league as the first pick in the 2020 NBA draft, Anthony Edwards faced the challenge of pulling the Timberwolves out of their rubble. Minnesota's only source of hope back in 2020 was the 7 feet, 248-pound center Karl Anthony Towns, along with the role players like D'Angelo Russell and Jaden McDaniels. It was clear that Anthony Edwards and Towns were the key pieces in their roster, and they needed to build around them. What the Timberwolves had in Anthony Edwards was an athletic 6'4" guard who could rise over the defense at will and wanted to win more than anything else. The acquisition of Mike Conley and the 3-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert from the Jazz, has transformed the Timberwolves from a mid-table team to competing for the top 3 spots in the West. The pivotal aspect of their game has been their lockdown defense, leading the league in the fewest points allowed per game and the field goal percentage allowed per game. The team's 6 blocks per game average ranks 6th in the league, and their 8 steals per game rank in the league's top half. Their 44-21 record is en route to the second-best record in franchise history, and they are just 3 losses shy of their 58-24 record 2 decades ago. This season, the Alpha leading the Wolfpack is their 4th-year electric veteran, Anthony Edwards, famously known as the AntMan. In contrast to Shai, Edwards' first step in offensive actions set him levels above every small guard in the league, a trait reminiscent of prime Russell Westbrook. Another exciting move is his quick in-between-the-legs dribble to lose his defender and create an open driving lane into the paint. And when the Ant-Man gets to the rim, this is when his freakish athleticism comes into play. His 41-inch vertical enables him to soar in the air and dunk it over anyone at the rim or finish acrobatically through contact. This season, his 65% field goal at the rim shows how unstoppable Edwards is when he is less than 5 feet from the cup. Also, Anthony Edwards' development of his mid-range game has taken his game to a whole new level. In his first 3 seasons, those mid-range shots were not falling for him, but this year, he has taken it to a whole new level, and his 35% on 250-plus attempts this season speaks volumes. Either coming off screens or in transition, Anthony Edwards can change gears, stop on a dime for an elbow jumper, or spin into a fadeaway mid-range jumper. His understanding of angles shows a glimpse of Kyrie Irving's game in making the bank shots and tightly contested jumpers look so easy. His 26 points per game and 46% shooting hasn't restricted to only scoring. His 5 assists per game average shows he can also create plays for his teammates, either finding a rolling Rudy Gobert in the paint for an easy or Karl Anthony Towns in the corner for an open 3. And whenever the defense drops to deny his drive to the basket, Anthony Edwards counters with his 3-point shot. His career best of 37% from threes this season isn't that spectacular, but considering the volume of shots he takes per game, it is pretty decent. His attitude to risk anything to secure a win makes him more impactful, even without the ball in his hands. Talk about the game-winning block to ensure the road win against the Indiana Pacers, or his lockdown defense on Jason Tatum in the big comeback win at home against the Boston Celtics. Anthony Edwards has all the skills of an elite two-way player. So far this season, the comparison is quite clear who the better player is, but let me leave you to decide. Shai wins the argument in points, rebounds, steals, efficient shooting from inside and behind the arc, and the least turnover averaged this season. In all their 4 encounters this season, both teams have won a pair, but we might likely see this matchup surface later in the playoffs. But for someone as competitive as Edwards, he doesn't care about what anyone says and will be picked over anyone in the league. In a recent interview with ESPN host Stephen A. Smith, Anthony Edwards still backs himself against the league's hottest young talents.
On the record saying that when you look to the future, the guys that are ready to take the mantle, the kind of young bloods that we're going to look at, he brought up your name, he brought up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Your thoughts about that?
I think that's dope because I think he's exactly right. Me and Shai and Luka for sure.
Right.
Yeah,
you
100%.
wanted. You said you, Shai, and who?
Luka.
All right.
Yeah.
How do you feel you specifically measure up against those two?
I feel like I'm a better player.
However, Shai's response in an interview didn't seem interested in getting in on the conversation.
Anthony Edwards, he was asked recently in an interview with my colleague Stephen A. Smith about the next generation, you, Luka, and he said, I'm better than both those guys.
I expect him to say that. I wouldn't expect him to say one of us is better than him. The thing about NBA players, and especially guys that are that talented, we all believe we're the best. We all believe what we bring to the table is special and unique, and he has every right to think so.
And so you do too.
Absolutely.
With both players playing at the top of their game, this rivalry will be one for the ages. Heading into the playoffs, there is a high possibility of witnessing the rebirth of a heated NBA rivalry between two of the next best young talents in the league. So that you can catch up with how the rivalry unfolds, ensure you are subscribed to the channel. Before you go, look at the other top videos we have put out. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.